Hey, this is a response to Pyrrho's video on relativism, or Pyrrho's series of videos on relativism, and it's my critique of that. Now, if I mischaracterise you, Pyrrho, please let me know and I will try and rectify it. It seems that Pyrrho's overarching claim is something like the following. There is no objective truth, there is no objective reality in which an absolute truth pertains, which has an absolute truth or falsity value. All truth is defined entirely relativistically or relationally as from a particular reference point. That seems to me something like what you're saying. And there's a few arguments you give for this, but I don't think any of them really support your conclusion. The first one is probably something like the following. The first claim I'd agree with, the second one I wouldn't. The first claim is a Leibnizian claim about the nature of properties. This is something that I've picked apart from your work, so if you think it's unfair, please tell me. First claim would be something like the following. All properties of objects are non-intrinsic. That is, there is no property of an object that is fully constituted by the object itself. All properties are defined entirely relationally or extrinsically. So the property of any individual object is constituted by the relations that it bears to other objects. That is a claim that we will both accept, and at least I believe so, your velocity analogy certainly reflected that. Velocity is of course a very clear-cut case of a relational property. I don't think it follows from that there is no absolute truth. Just because there are no intrinsic properties of objects does not mean that there is no objectivity. There is the objective world can be constituted by these non-intrinsic relations and still be objective. There's nothing relative about that. Secondly, I think you make a claim something like because knowledge is reference dependent, and perhaps truth or falsity depends on a time of reference. In light of Einstein's theory of relativity, that doesn't mean that there is no absolute truth about that frame of reference. So, I mean, one could say that the overarching states of affairs are such that at that frame of reference, if a person were to make an utterance, that utterance would be true if it contained a proposition that pertained to the states of affairs from that reference point. I don't think that's relativism at all. The only thing that makes it relativism is also invites its own problems. You want to get rid of what I've just discussed as true propositions and states of affairs, but I think you need to presuppose them, because otherwise where is the relativism going to happen at all? Where are the relativistic I mean where are the objects? I would say that they are part of the objective world. They constitute the objective world, the objects, whereas I don't know where objects come from in your particular ontology. I don't know what your ontology is. All I know is that you think that things are reference dependent. I don't know what you're asserting the existence of. I don't know what your take is on this particular thing either. If all the conscious observers were to cease to be conscious or cease to exist, what would happen to what I would deem the objective world? Me being an objectivist, in certainly your characterization, would the objective world still exist? My personal intuition is that it would, and the act of perception is not really related to. I mean, you don't need to be perceived to exist, in my opinion. I know you can get into some quantum arguments, but I don't think those work either, for reasons I'm not going to go into. But I would hold that perception and existence are simply separate things. You need to exist to be perceived or to perceive, but you don't need to be perceived or perceived to exist. All you need to do is share correct functional causal roles within the states of affairs at large. That would probably be what I'd say. So I don't know if that works either. Secondly, well, not secondly, moving on. There's the problem of truth that you face. A caricature of this would be you telling me that there are no absolute truths, and that's almost what you're saying. And if that is what you're saying, then that's indeed a self-refuting argument. There are no absolute truths. Well, that certainly looks like a statement about truth, therefore it's false. So it's self-refuting. There must be absolute truths, because there is an impossibility of the truth of the statement. There are no absolute truths, so therefore there must be. So I almost want to know what makes, if someone says something that's false, what makes that false? If someone says something that's true, what makes it true? What is it that makes that statement true? I want to say because it represents a proposition that's characterizes the states of affairs, but you can't say that. One more problem that was slightly bugging me was your conception of solipsism as the foundational ground for epistemology. I think that's bad, because any particular ground, any particular evidence presented to me from a solipsistic point of view, I don't think you could ever convince me that other minds exist. If I held solipsism primarily as my foundational, I would not be able to conclude that any other minds exist. And with Cartesian skepticism about other minds comes Cartesian certainty about the infallibility of our beliefs of our own mental states, which is something that you have to contend with. And there's a lot of contemporary philosophy of mind arguing specifically against the infallibility of one might have over their mental states. So I've had somewhat of a rant. I've detracted from my point all over the place, but hopefully I've shown, at least demonstrated, why I find your particular view problematic, and I hope you get back to me. Peace.